So thank you very much, Bruce, and thanks to all of you for attending today. I want to especially thank you all for coming to the annual meeting, and I want to note how important it is to spend time with all of the researchers who are going to be presenting their work at the meeting, as you heard from Sandy. In this briefing today, we're going to review some important institutional and organizational changes that are crucial to our ability to continue to expand upon the progress that's already been made against cancer, and specifically to conduct more efficient, faster, more informative clinical trials so that we can more dramatically improve our patients' lives. I'm going to talk about two organizational changes that have occurred in the past 2 years. The first is to introduce the reorganization of the federally funded cancer clinical trials system, and the second, a significant ASCO project in health information technology called Cancer Link. So first, the clinical trial system. Dr. Bartolini will talk about this in much greater detail in a few minutes, but I want to just provide an introduction and describe a huge change that has happened really without a lot of public notice in the National Cancer Institute's clinical trials cooperative groups. This federally supported system, and you heard already about how important federally supported research is more than a half-century old at this point, and it was clearly in need of some rethinking and revitalization. As a result of the 2010 Institute of Medicine report that called for modernizing and strengthening the system, the NCI developed a plan to consolidate the then existing 9 adult cooperative cancer groups into just 4. And they made changes that would promote greater centralization, standardization, and lead to resulting efficiencies. This program became known as the NCI National Clinical Trials Network. The NCI worked along with ASCO and the Institute of Medicine to host workshops in 2011 and earlier this year that would ensure transparency and open discussion as these changes were taking place. Over these 2 years, the 9 previous adult cancer cooperative groups formed alliances and, in effect, consolidated themselves, in some cases before the mandate even came out. They did this so that they could then go in for funding together when the new request for proposals was issued. The first round of grants for the new network is planned for next March of 2014, and the groups are, to varying degrees, ready to go already. As this massive reorganization was taking place, involving nearly 14,000 investigators at more than 3,100 institutions who annually place more than 25,000 new cancer patients onto clinical trials every year, the groups continued their already ongoing and important work, proposing, launching new clinical trials, accruing patients to existing studies, completing those trials that were well underway, and analyzing, interpreting, reporting their results. As Dr. Roth discussed earlier, these trials often result in practice-changing observations that are really important to patients and to clinicians. And I just have to add, in many cases, these are the trials that are definitive because they really lay out for the clinical world the utility of various therapeutic options. And many times they're done even after clinical trials have led to drug approval. It's remarkable, this achievement, and it's one that has not really been fully recognized by our community or the broader society. And as Dr. Swain discussed earlier, we're very concerned against this background with the impact of the federal budget cuts, and specifically we're concerned about the continued success of this transformation of the National Clinical Trials Network and our ability to continue to enroll patients on these federally sponsored trials. Now, while clinical trials are a vital aspect of our work and critical to making continued progress against cancer, one thing that has been true for many years is that only about 3% approximately of all adult patients actually participate in clinical research. And this is a longstanding dilemma for us because obviously our ability to advance the science and make new discoveries is in the end dependent on our ability to demonstrate advantages in patients. And so the second topic that we want to share with you today is with regard to ASCO's commitment to formally develop a rapid learning health system that will basically alter what we're able to learn from each and every patient, whether or not they're on conventional prospective clinical trials. With CancerLink, the program shown here, we are developing a learning computer network that will collect and analyze cancer clinical care data from millions of patient visits, together with expert guidelines and other published evidence that will ultimately generate real-time, personalized, individualized guidance and provide quality of care feedback in real time to clinicians and practices. The CancerLink prototype, which was completed earlier this year, includes already de-identified data from over 150,000 patients with breast cancer, and it demonstrates the feasibility of building the system. I want to emphasize that for just a moment. This was first unveiled at a press event in March, late March, and what this fundamentally demonstrates is that it is possible to draw data in from a multitude of electronic medical records in multiple practices around the country, consolidate the data, analyze it, interpret it, and then use it to, for example, benchmark against quality measures or benchmark against guidelines, or even provide feedback to clinicians about better and worse therapeutic options. So we've shown now that this is possible. The lessons that we learned from this prototype are going to now in turn guide the further development of CancerLink over the next few years. The primary purpose of this, when you really cut to the core, is quality improvement, which is, of course, a fundamental mission of all of us at ASCO. But also for researchers, CancerLink has the potential to unlock the wealth of anonymous data on patients' treatment and outcomes that currently is not tapped at all. This goes back to this 3% versus 97% issue. The 97% of patients who are not on clinical trials could provide some data that would inform perhaps part of what we do in the future. So if you're interested in this, and I hope you are, I want to encourage you to join me and many others tomorrow at 1 o'clock in this room, I think. This is 353A. For a demonstration of the prototype. And I hope that will lead you to think carefully about how we might actually build this out and use it to great advantage in the future. I want to again thank all of you for joining us here today, and look forward to talking with all of you during the meeting and over the coming year. Now back to Dr. Roth.